everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. At the very beginning, I would like to apologize for not uploading any video for a long time. I was very caught up with a lot of things in my life, but from now on, the literature videos will be pretty regular. So without further ado, let us jump into today's topic. And if you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Dr. Riya Datta and I make videos on English literature as well as English language. So if that is something of importance to you, consider subscribing to my channel. So the topic we are going to discuss today is The Waste Land of T.S. Eliot. I will not jump into the text right away. First, I would like to talk about a little bit of context and a bit of background of Waste Land as well as of T.S. Eliot. I know for a lot of people, T.S. Eliot is probably one of the most difficult poets to study and understand. When I was a student, it was the same for me as well. But trust me, once you delve into the poems of T.S. Eliot, your entire perspective will change. I know the poems of Eliot is not about writing answers in exams, but rather it's about imbibing the subject matter, what he is talking about. So anyway, let's jump into the lecture. With T.S. Eliot, it becomes a little complicated as he is the first to say to understand the meaning of any piece of literature, it is not important to know the biography of a poet. He was of this idea that appreciating any piece of literature does not require any background of the poet or author. But with Eliot, we need to understand a little bit. He was born an American and died as a British person. His change of citizenship is not that important, but we have to understand that he had a grand exposure to different nations and ways of living. But he was also a polyglot. He knew a lot of languages. In Waste Land, he used Latin, Greek, Italian, German, French, Sanskrit, and English. This poem is like a modern epic, which is a meeting point of not just languages but also different kinds of cultures and religions, spirituality, and different kinds of approaching the question of what's the point of living? What's the point of all these? Understanding the context of the poem is very important because it was the time when the World War is going on, the First World War that is. When Eliot first published this book, most of the people could not understand what he was trying to say. They faced multiple challenges of studying this poem. The challenges are, first of all, this poem is multilingual. Eliot has used a lot of languages, as I have mentioned before. Over that, this poem is allusive. There are many allusions throughout the poems. Plus, the themes of this poem are quite complicated. Over that, the nature of the poem is fragmented. Plus, there are various interpretations and Eliot's own footnotes. So, when he republished this poem, he brought with it a set of annotations or notes. There, he gives us a few of the hints about what should be our point of view when we look at the lines. Many people say that those are not that much of help because they simply direct from where he had taken the quotations. Still, we will try to understand why he used all these references at all. Eliot has written one line in his tradition and individual talent. This is an essay. So, before we begin with the poem, we need to talk about this particular line a bit. The line goes like this: no poet, no artist of any art has his complete meaning alone. When one creates anything, the memories of all the things studied gets in the play. We have seen this happening in Milton's Paradise Lost. Only here, this is more deliberate. For some poets, it does not happen consciously because they don't know they are borrowing from the tradition. But for Eliot, it is deliberate. Not just borrowing, he would change them to suit the new world he is seeing around him. The world where countries were clashing with each other, the world where everything is going to waste. Before we begin the poem, we have to mention two books. The one book is Miss Jessie L. Weston's From Ritual to Romance. Here, ritual means mostly pagan rituals. The vegetation rituals, sometimes rituals found in Christianity. This author tries to connect all these rituals and place them according to the Grail legend. What is the Grail legend? Let's talk about that. Grail is basically believed to be a cup. It is believed that Christ in his Last Supper drank from this holy cup. Then after he was crucified, his blood was collected in it. Then mysteriously the Grail was gone. In the Arthurian legend, there is the constant urge to look for this Grail. That is called the Grail quest. In one of the Arthurian legends, there is the Fisher King. His health was declining. The king's health is related to the prosperity of the land. The entire land was going to waste. Many writers wrote a lot of adventures that the knights undertook to recover the Grail. It was believed that if the king drank from the holy cup, he would be restored to health. There is the story about Sir Gawain. It is believed that a knight called Percival managed to find the Grail and he gave it to the Fisher King, who got restored to health after his wasteland got rejuvenated. This is the Grail legend. What Weston did is to show that all around the world there were these fertility rituals. In these rituals, nature was worshipped in some way, and that was connected to rejuvenation, rebirth, and reproduction. This was mostly seen in religions that believed in different kinds of pagan rituals. One of the rituals mentioned in Paradise Lost. Remember Thammuz and the bleeding? Thammuz is killed yearly by a wild boar, dies, and descends to the underworld. His lover, the goddess Inanna, also known as Ishtar, follows him, resulting the cessation of all life on earth. Thammuz was associated with fertility and vegetation. His death and resurrection were linked to the seasonal cycle. This myth parallels the Greek myth of Adonis and Aphrodite, describing the death and resurrection of Adonis, which represents the decay of nature every winter and its revival in spring. All these things are connected to the Grail legend, where we see death followed by renewal, a kind of spring, a new beginning. The other book that influenced Eliot is Sir James Fraser's The Golden Bough. It is also a book on religion, mostly comparative religion. Here he talks about different kinds of religions, motifs like hanged god, Adonis, Iris, all these deities, and how they are inherently connected to the idea of a quest. The quest for finding a source of rejuvenation. Somebody is dying, somebody is wasted, and how that can be recovered. These two books provide a mythological background to Eliot on which he is creating a modern day epic. When an epic is created, as we know, the first thing we have is a heroic figure. In Paradise Lost, the figure is subverted in a way, but we still have Satan. But the question is, who is the central figure in the wasteland? That is the trickiest part. There is no single character towering over others. Eliot says that in his notes he mentioned one figure that is called Tiresias. According to the Greek legend, Tiresias was a blind prophet. Once he hit a pair of copulating snakes, and as a punishment, he was turned into a woman for 7 years. His gender became fluid. And that comes into play when Juno and Jupiter had an argument about who has most pleasure out of sexual union. Tiresias was brought into the argument as he experienced both. He said that a man enjoyed 1/10 of the pleasure and a woman 1/9. Juno instantly struck him blind for his impiety, and Jupiter, in recompense, gave him the gift of foresight and a lifespan of 7 lives. We see the figure of Tiresias recurring like the Hindu deity Narada. Eliot grips over Tiresias and says what Tiresias sees is the content of this poem. But Tiresias is not the central figure. He is just a gazer. He is looking at it. A prophet is not able to change the future. He can only see. In this modern world, there is no possibility of any towering control figure. Human beings have become belittled by the circumstances. We have become so isolated from the person sitting next to us that there is no possibility of any grand narrative anymore. What Tiresias sees is the past and the future, and how the modern world is connecting these two. And how the modern world has become a wasteland where all these grand narratives of the past have become nothing. Eliot divides the poem into 5 parts, but these parts are not equal. The parts are Burial of the Dead. This is of 76 lines. The next one is A Game of Chess. This is of 96 lines. Next we have The Fire Sermon, that is 139 lines. Then we have Death by Water. This is the shortest one. This has 10 lines. And after that we have What the Thunder Said. This is of 113 lines. So total we have 434 lines. These lines are not symmetrical. Here we see nothing is following any rhyming pattern because the essence of the poem is the essence of the world, which is broken down in fragments. The title gives us the hint of what we are going to expect from there. The recurrent themes are the wasted nature of the modern world and the quest of how to get back to the feeling of fullness, the feeling of fertility, and the constant urge to go for the holy water. So, I hope you have enjoyed this lecture about the background of the wasteland. So, in our next video, we will discuss the text of this poem. We will start with the part 1. So, stay tuned and keep an eye on my channel. Thank you. Bye bye.